Hello students, once again welcome back to my online lecture series of key concepts in biological sciences. So in my today's tutorial, we shall be discussing about two important concepts in genetics, which are multiple allelism and the second one is pleiotropism. So it was observed that both these phenomenon, they do not obey Mendelian inheritance pattern and therefore they are said to be as deviations or modifications of the Mendelian genetics. So both these phenomenon, they were categorized under post-Mendelian genetics. So let us begin with understanding them one by one. So firstly, why multiple allelism is said to be a deviation from Mendelian principles. So Mendel had stated that for any character, each gene has only two contrasting alleles. So one of them is going to be a dominant allele while the other is going to be a recessive allele. Say for example, we are talking about the trait plant height in Pisum sativum, then the plant height will be encoded by two alleles. The dominant allele, which is going to code for tallness, and the recessive allele, which is going to code for dwarfness. So for the character height of the plant, there are only two contrasting alleles, the dominant allele and the recessive allele. However, it was noticed that for certain characters, there are more than two alleles or allelomorphs that can be present in the population. So these alleles, they may occupy the same position on a chromosome or its homologue within the population. So such more than two forms of alleles are called as multiple alleles and the phenomenon is called as multiple allelism. That is why it is said to be a deviation from Mendelian principle, because there are more than two alternative forms of a gene that can be present within a population. So let us understand multiple allelism with the help of an example. It is also said that multiple alleles, why do these basically arise? They arise mainly due to mutations. So mutation occurs in the default wild type gene, and as a result of that, multiple alleles are formed, as you can call them as mutants. So they are due to mutation in the wild type genes. These mutations can take place in more than one way, and as a result of that, multiple alleles are arising. So you have to always remember that when these wild type alleles come in combination with the mutant alleles, it is always observed that the wild type is always dominant over the mutant forms. So the wild types are always going to express and they will not allow the expression of the mutant forms. So let us understand this with the help of an example. So multiple allelism was first discovered by Carl Landsteiner when he was working on the blood group system in humans. So the very well-known blood group system in humans is the ABO blood group system. So now the blood group in humans is controlled by a gene named as gene I, or gene, you can also call it as gene L. So gene I, where I stands for isohemagglutinin, or gene L, where L stands after Landsteiner. So this gene I, or you can call it gene L, it controls the blood types in humans. Now this gene is supposed to have three alleles. So three alternative forms of this gene are existing within the population. So what are these three alleles? I have the three alleles IA, IB, and IO. IO, you can also call it as simply I. So these three alleles of the gene I, they are responsible for determining all the four blood groups within the human population. So what are the four blood groups in humans? You have blood group A, blood group B, blood group AB, and blood group O. So all these four blood groups are determined with the help of these three alleles, IA, IB, and IO. Now, within each individual, there are only two of these alleles that are present. So each of these allele is coming from one parent. So the mother contributes one allele while the father contributes the other allele. And therefore, only two of these alleles can be present in each individual. And the combination of these two alleles is going to determine the blood group of the individual. So now what are these alleles responsible for? I mean, what is the role of these alleles? So now the allele IA is responsible. So if an individual is having an allele IA, it is expressing an allele IA within itself, then IA is responsible for the synthesis of a glycoprotein. You can call it as an antigen. So IA allele is responsible for synthesis of a glycoprotein or a antigen on the RBC of that individual. So if I'm expressing the allele IA, then I am going to express the A antigen on my RBC. If I'm expressing an allele IB, then I'm going to express antigen B on my RBC. So that is the role of the alleles IA and IB. they are going to synthesize the glycoproteins A and glycoprotein B on the RBC of the individual. So now let us understand the interrelationship among these three alleles. So now if IA and IB are coming in combination with IO, then it is always observed that IA and IB, both of them will not allow the expression of IO because they are dominant over IO. So if IA and IO are coming together, then IA is observed to be dominant over IO. Okay, so that is the relationship among them. Let us understand the interrelationship between IA and IB. So IA and IB are said to be showing a phenomenon of codominance. We've studied this in our previous class that IA and IB are said to be showing the phenomenon of codominance. So both these alleles, they express themselves equally and independently. Therefore, now if an individual is expressing both IA and IB, then both the antigens A and antigen B will be expressed on the RBCs, and therefore the blood group of the individual is going to be AB. So that is the relationship between IA and IB, which show codominance. So now let's have a look at this table. So this table is now going to show 6 different phenotypic combinations between these three alleles. And as a result of these combinations, 6 combinations, what all are the phenotypes that are resulting? So the phenotype is nothing but your blood group. If the blood group of the individual is stated, then what kind of antigen is present on the RBCs and what kind of antibodies are present in the serum of that individual. Okay, so now if I have 2 alleles IA and IA, each of them coming from one parent, then the phenotype or the blood group of the individual is going to be A. Therefore, the antigen on the RBC is definitely going to be A glycoprotein or A antigen. And the antibodies that will be present in the serum will be the anti-B antibodies. So if in case faulty blood transfusion takes place, then the antigen then the antigen B is going to clump together with the antibody B, and therefore that will lead to clumping or agglutination. So that is why anti-B antibodies are present in the serum. Another example is of the genotype IA and IO. So now in this case, the IA allele is going to be dominant over IO, and therefore the phenotype of the individual is once again going to be the A blood group. The next genotype is IB-IB. Therefore, the blood group is B. Similarly, we have IB and IO, where IB is dominant over IO, and therefore the blood group is going to be B. Next example is the genotype IA and IB. Both of them are existing in the individual. Both of them show the phenomenon of codominance, and therefore the blood group is going to be AB. As a result of that, both the antigens A and antigen B will be expressed on the RBCs. Now, in such individuals, no antibodies are present in the serum, and therefore such AB group individuals, AB blood group individuals act as universal recipients. They can take blood from any of these individuals which are having these blood groups, because they do not have any antibodies in their serum. Therefore, no agglutination is going to take place. And the last one is IOIO. Now, if an individual expresses these 2 kinds of alleles, then the blood group of the individual is going to be the O blood group, because here the RBCs, they do not express any antigens on them. However, in the serum, antibody A and antibody B, both of them are present. So because of this, the O blood group individuals are said to be as universal donors, because they can donate blood to any of the blood group individuals. Okay, so now once having understood this, I can tell you that you have 3 alleles IA, IB and IO. These are going to come in 6 genotypic combinations which are listed over here, and they are going to determine the 4 blood groups. So 3 alleles, 6 genotypes and 4 phenotypes. So once having understood this, let me pose a question to you. So now if I have both the parents that are AB blood group individuals. So if both my parents are AB blood group individuals, then the offsprings or the children with which blood group are not likely. Okay, so if both my parents, the mother and the father, both of them are AB blood group individuals, then which of the offsprings are not possible? So now let us just write down the genotype of the parent. So this is, say for example, my mother. So the mother is going to be IAIB, so AB blood group, and this is my father, which is again going to be IA and IB. So now simple, so if for finding out the offsprings, you are going to see a simple cross multiplication. So now the probable offsprings that are possible are IA crossed with IA. So IA, second is going to be say IB, and the last is going to be again IB. So these are the probable offsprings, the genotype of the offsprings that are possible. So the blood group can be either A blood group, AB blood group, or the B blood group. So therefore, the offsprings that are not possible are the offsprings with the O blood group. So this is how you can understand multiple allelism. Now let's move on to the second phenomenon, that is pleiotropism. So once again, pleiotropism is again said to be a deviation or modification of the Mendelian principles because it does not follow Mendelian inheritance patterns. So now what Mendel had stated that one gene can control only one phenotypic trait or one character, but that is not the case. Now, what do you mean by pleiotropism is that it is the ability of a single gene to show multiple phenotypic effects. So one gene is going to show multiple traits or multiple characters. So that is the phenomenon of pleiotropism. And that particular gene which shows such an ability, that gene is called as the pleiotropic gene. Now, this pleiotropic gene, it may produce two or more related or unrelated phenotypic traits or characters. So you can understand pleiotropism with the help of a classical example of the syndrome sickle cell anemia, which takes place in humans. So with the help of sickle cell anemia, you can understand what is this phenomenon of pleiotropism. Now we all know what is sickle cell anemia. It is basically caused due to a point mutation that takes place in a healthy gene HBA. So this normal healthy gene HBA, it is responsible for the synthesis of the beta globin protein chain within your hemoglobin protein. So now we all know that hemoglobin protein, it is made up of 4 chains, 2 alpha chains and 2 beta chains. So this HBA, it encodes for the beta globin polypeptide chain of the hemoglobin protein. Now why is sickle cell anemia caused? Now this HBA gets mutated to HBS. So now this HBS is said to be a faulty gene. So this is occurring due to a point mutation that takes place in the HBA gene, converting it into HBS. So now what exactly happens due to this point mutation? Now because of this point mutation, the beta polypeptide chain gets altered. So where exactly does it get altered? In the beta polypeptide chain, which is made up of amino acids, at the 6th position, there is an amino acid present called as the glutamic acid or glutamate. So within normal individuals, this glutamic acid is present at the 6th position. But because of the mutation, the glutamic acid gets replaced to valine. So this is the main cause of sickle cell anemia, where glutamic acid is replaced to valine at the 6th position in the beta polypeptide chain of hemoglobin. Now, as a result of that, the primary effect that you observe is that this mutated allele HBS, now it is going to encode for abnormal or faulty hemoglobin, where HBA is going to code for normal hemoglobin. The mutated HBS gene is going to produce abnormal hemoglobin because the beta chain is now faulty. Now, because of this abnormal hemoglobin, what is the role of hemoglobin? That we know that it has a oxygen carrying capacity. It is going to carry oxygen. Now, if the hemoglobin is abnormal, the oxygen carrying capacity of the hemoglobin will be drastically reduced. So it is going to be less. Now, we also know that where is this hemoglobin present? It is present inside the RBCs. So the secondary effect that you see is on the RBCs. Now, these RBCs, they tend to get distorted. The shape of the RBCs changes and the RBCs, they become sickle shaped. Why is this happening? Because the oxygen concentration in the RBCs is drastically reduced. That is why the RBCs, which are normally disc shaped, they get altered and become sickle shaped. Now, as a result of these sickle shaped RBCs, such RBCs, they tend to clump together. Because of this clumping, you observe that the blood viscosity increases. And because of this increased blood viscosity, clogging of the blood vessels is observed in various organs. So all the blood vessels, they begin to clog because of the increased blood viscosity. And finally, such defective RBCs are readily destroyed, causing severe anemia. So here you see that a single faulty gene HBS, which acts as a pleiotropic gene, it is going to show multiple phenotypic effects. So HBA is said to be a pleiotropic gene where the mutated form of HBA, that is HBS, is going to show the following phenotypic effects. So HBA is therefore called as a pleiotropic gene. Now, when HBA is present in homozygous condition, so HBA allele is contributed one from each parent, then the individual is said to be healthy because normal hemoglobin will be produced in that individual. Now, what if one of the parents is going to contribute HBS as a mutated form of the allele? Then this individual is said to be a heterozygous individual because it is going to produce 50% abnormal hemoglobin, while 50% is going to be a normal hemoglobin. So such kind of individuals, you call them as carriers because they show mild signs of anemia. So in such individuals, sickle-shaped RBCs are observed. So such individuals are said to be heterozygous individuals. And this gene HBS over here is going to act as a lethal gene. But the lethal effect you'll observe only and only when the HBS allele is going to come in homozygous combination. So my third case is a homozygous combination of HBS. Now, if both my parents are going to contribute HBS and HBS allele, then the offspring shows a genotype HBS. And in such cases, whatever hemoglobin is going to be produced, all of it is going to be a faulty or abnormal hemoglobin. And that is why the person is going to die because of fatal anemia. So now the lethal gene will express itself only and only when it is going to be present in homozygous combination. So that is why it is going to cause the death of the bearer. And that is why the person dies from fatal anemia. Now, what if two such sickle cell carriers, they are marrying each other? So if I have over here one of the carriers HBA, HBS, it is going to marry carrier number 2, HBA, HBS. Now, what if these two marry each other? Then what are the probable offsprings that are formed? So simple cross multiplication. So here I'm going to have HBA with HBA. So one of the offsprings is going to be normal. Second, HBA multiplied with HBS. So here I'm going to have two offsprings which are going to be carriers with the same genotype as that of the parents. And the third case is that of HBS multiplied with HBS. So these are the two alleles which will be contributed by the parents, and therefore the offspring is going to show a homozygous combination of HBS. So this is a fatal combination. Therefore, the ratio of normal offsprings to carriers is going to be 1:2. So 1 normal and 2 carriers. The third type of offspring is immediately going to undergo death because of the lethal characteristics. So this was the example of pleiotropism. So hope you all have understood pleiotropism and multiple allelism. So let us just go through the summary. So now, when some characters are controlled by more than 2 alleles, which arise mainly due to mutation in the wild type alleles, that is the case of multiple allelism. So we understood multiple allelism with the help of an example of the ABO blood group system. The second thing that we studied was that if one gene is going to show 2 or more related or unrelated phenotypic effects, then that gene is said to be a pleiotropic gene, and the phenomenon is called as pleiotropism. So one gene and multiple effects, that is the phenomenon of pleiotropism. So we understood that with the help of sickle cell anemia. So thank you, students. So if you have any doubts, you can directly mail me on this following email ID. And please do like, share, and subscribe my video if I have contributed to any extent in your knowledge. So please do like, comment, and share my video.